I hired a male cleaner to work in just his underwear, and I fell in love. It was supposed to be harmless, a distraction, maybe even a little thrill. I had just gotten out of a long, emotionally draining relationship, and my apartment felt as empty as I did. The silence was suffocating. The mess piled up. And then, one night, in the middle of a mindless scroll, I saw the ad. Private home cleaning, discreet, minimal clothing, respectful, no funny business, unless requested. I hesitated, laughed, took a screenshot, but I couldn't get it out of my head. The next day, I booked the service. I was expecting awkwardness. I was expecting muscles, sure. But I wasn't expecting him. I wasn't expecting someone so calm, so focused, so sincere. He introduced himself as Noah, wore nothing but navy briefs and a simple chain around his neck, and went straight to work like it was just another Tuesday. At first, I tried to act normal, pretend I wasn't watching his every move from behind my laptop. But over time, something shifted. It wasn't just about the way he looked. It was how he carried himself. Quiet, efficient, completely comfortable in his skin. He never flirted, never crossed a line. And somehow, that made me want to know him even more. This wasn't supposed to be emotional, but I started cleaning up before he arrived, just to make the space feel welcoming. I started cooking little things and pretending I happened to be eating when he finished. I started hoping he'd stay just a little longer, until one day he did, and that was the day everything changed. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a single part of this journey, because sometimes the mess you're avoiding leads you straight into something unexpectedly beautiful. When I opened the door that day, I was ready to laugh at myself. I really was. I'd been making bad decisions lately, ordering too much takeout, texting my ex at 2 a.m., and now, apparently, hiring a stranger to clean my apartment, wearing nothing but underwear. It sounded ridiculous when I said it out loud. Still, I didn't cancel. I stood there, half nervous, half curious, waiting for the knock I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. But when it came, sharp and confident, my breath caught in my throat. And when I opened the door, he was standing there. Taller than I expected. Lean, toned, not overly muscular. More like someone who worked with his body daily without trying to impress anyone. His skin was lightly tanned, smooth. He wore dark gray briefs and a plain black t-shirt that he immediately pulled off and tucked into his cleaning bag, as if that was just protocol. "Noah," he said, eyes meeting mine. His voice was low, controlled, almost quiet. "You booked me for 2 hours?" I nodded. I don't think I said anything at all at first. He stepped in like it was the most normal thing in the world and looked around, scanning the space. Not with judgment, but with an almost professional calm. "Any areas you want me to prioritize?" he asked, setting his supplies down near the kitchen. I blinked. Yeah, the bathroom and maybe the windows. And, you don't have to do the bedroom." He glanced at me briefly, one eyebrow raised in amusement, or maybe just curiosity. "Noted." And just like that, he began. I tried to act casual, sat at my desk in the corner with my laptop open, pretending to work. But who was I kidding? I watched him, every stretch, every movement, the way he moved silently through the apartment, wiping surfaces, vacuuming the floor, reaching into the top cabinets like he owned the place. He didn't talk much, no music, no humming, just the occasional question about where I kept certain supplies. He always spoke with that same quiet tone, respectful, focused, not flirtatious, not suggestive. It was almost frustrating. I had expected this to feel cheap, or awkward, or maybe just hilarious. But it didn't. It felt intimate, and that confused the hell out of me. When he leaned down to scrub the baseboards, I found myself staring too long. When he reached up to clean the top of a shelf, his back muscles shifting under his skin, I looked away. But not fast enough. I caught him glancing at me once, and for a second, I thought I saw a smile form at the corner of his mouth. By the time he finished the kitchen, I realized something else. I didn't want him to leave. "Want water?" I asked suddenly, louder than I meant to. He paused and turned, wiping his hands on a towel. "Sure. Thanks." I brought him a glass and watched as he drank it, head tilted back, throat working. I wondered how many people hired him for this kind of thing and never even spoke to him. I wondered what he thought of me. Another lonely guy in a too-quiet apartment playing games he didn't understand. "You okay?" he asked, catching me staring. "Yeah," I said quickly, too quickly. "Just didn't expect this to feel so normal." He smiled at that, a real one. It caught me off guard. "It's a job," he said. "People think it's weirder than it is. But I show up, I clean, I leave, no drama." I wanted to say something else, ask something personal, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I followed him to the hallway as he gathered his things. 2 hours had flown by like minutes. "Same time next week?" he asked casually, like we'd done this 100 times. I nodded again, still unsure how this felt more like a first date than a cleaning session. He gave me one last glance, holding my gaze just a second longer than he needed to. Then he was gone, and I stood in the silence of my now spotless apartment, heart pounding like I'd just done something dangerous. Because maybe I had. Maybe I'd opened a door I wouldn't be able to close again. I told myself I was just being polite when I booked him again. Same day, same time, same conditions. But the truth was, the apartment didn't need cleaning. What I needed was him. All week, I kept replaying our last interaction. That brief look before he left, the half smile, the tone of his voice when he said, "Same time next week." I obsessed over it like a teenager, dissecting every word. Was it routine? Or was there something more beneath the surface? When Friday came, I cleaned before he arrived. Ridiculous, I know. I tidied up, made sure everything looked lived in but not too messy. I sprayed the couch with freshener and even put on a nicer t-shirt. I caught myself in the mirror before the doorbell rang, heart beating fast, palms sweaty, and laughed out loud. I was preparing for a date. But it wasn't a date. He showed up exactly on time. Same gray boxer briefs. Same calm energy. Same quiet focus. But when he stepped inside this time, something was different. I felt it. Or maybe I just wanted to feel it. "Noah," I said, greeting him with more confidence than I had last week. He nodded with a small grin. "You remembered." "Hard to forget," I said, too quickly. He raised an eyebrow at that, but said nothing. Just walked in like he always did and dropped his bag beside the kitchen counter. Today, I stayed closer. Not hovering, not staring. At least, I tried not to. But I offered to help him find things, asked how his week had been. He answered in short, soft responses, but he wasn't cold. He was just measured. As if he was always making sure the distance between us stayed exactly where it needed to be. But he didn't pull away when I handed him a towel. He didn't avoid my gaze when I watched him kneel to scrub the base of the bathroom sink. And when I offered him water again, he said, "Only if you sit and drink it with me." My heart flipped. We sat on opposite sides of the dining table. Him shirtless, legs spread casually under the table, me trying not to fidget like a schoolboy. "I'm surprised you booked me again," he said, sipping his water. "Why?" "Most people just want the experience once," he replied. "They're curious, or lonely, or bored." I laughed nervously. "What does that make me?" He looked at me for a long second. Not sure yet. The silence after that was heavy. I wanted to ask so many things. Why he did this kind of work, what kind of clients he met, what he thought of me. But I was afraid the answers would ruin the illusion. Still, I couldn't stop myself from asking, "Do you ever get close to your clients?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned back in the chair and looked at me with those unreadable eyes. The muscles in his jaw tensed. Then he said, "No, that's not part of the job." I nodded, trying to mask the disappointment that stabbed through me. Of course it wasn't. I was just another paycheck. Another 2 hours of scrubbing and silence. But then, as he stood and reached for his bag, he added, "But not everything has to be part of the job." I looked up. "What does that mean?" He paused at the door, hand on the handle. "It means..." His voice was softer now. "You're not like the others, but that doesn't always make things easier." Then he left. No smirk, no final glance, just the quiet click of the door closing behind him. I sat there for a long time afterward, replaying his words over and over. "You're not like the others." But why did that feel less like a compliment, and more like a warning? By the third time, I didn't even pretend I was hiring him for the cleaning. I still sent the same message, same time, same instructions. But the apartment barely needed touching. What I wanted was him in my space again. His presence, his silence, the strange calm he brought with him every time he stepped through my door. I was starting to memorize him. The way he walked barefoot across the hardwood floors. The way he tied his cleaning rag around his wrist when he wasn't using it. The way he always looked at the floor when he first arrived, like he didn't want to see me until he had settled in. This time, I didn't hide at the dining table or pretend to be working. I followed him. He didn't seem surprised. "You're really watching me today," he said quietly while dusting the windows. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "Can you blame me?" He gave the faintest smirk. "You're not the first." "Am I the only one who talks to you?" He looked at me then. "No, but you're the only one who makes me want to talk back." I wasn't expecting that. I stared at him, pulse racing. "Why?" Noah shrugged, still focused on the glass in front of him. "Because you don't ask for anything." That stung more than I thought it would. "I'm not allowed to want something from you?" He paused, his hand stilled on the glass. Then, without turning around, he said, "You can want, but wanting's different from expecting." He continued cleaning like he hadn't just turned my insides upside down. Later, while he was vacuuming the couch, I found myself sitting just beside him, closer than I ever had before. Our knees almost touched. "I used to hate this couch," I told him. He didn't ask why, but I kept talking anyway. My ex picked it out, said it made the place feel more grown up. After the breakup, I thought about throwing it out. But now, I don't know. He looked at the fabric, then at me. "Maybe it's becoming something else." "What do you mean?" He set down the vacuum hose. "Sometimes the same space can hold different memories." I nodded slowly, unsure how to respond. My chest tightened. I wanted to ask what kind of memories he was making in my apartment. I wanted to ask if I was one of them. Instead, I leaned back against the cushion and closed my eyes for a second. And then I felt it. His fingers brushed my knee. Light. Barely there. Like a question without words. I opened my eyes. He wasn't looking at me. He was reaching down to pick up something from the floor. A coin, I think. But his fingers lingered just for a moment too long. It was enough. My skin was burning. He stood and walked to the kitchen without a word. I followed. "Why did you do that?" He opened the cupboard and pulled out a glass. "Do what?" "You touched me." He filled the glass with water, took a slow sip, then met my gaze. "Did it bother you?" I shook my head. "No, that's the problem." His jaw tensed. He put the glass down and stepped closer, not touching, but near enough that I felt the warmth of his skin. He looked down at me, expression unreadable. "I told you," he said. "Not everything has to be part of the job." "Then what is this?" For a moment, I thought he'd answer. Instead, his phone buzzed. He pulled it from his bag and looked at the screen. His whole posture changed, stiffened. "I have to go," he said abruptly. "What happened?" He avoided my eyes. "Something personal. I'm sorry." And just like that, he was gone. No explanation, no warning, no goodbye. I stood alone in my kitchen, the ghost of his fingers still warm on my leg, and 1,000 questions spinning in my head. I didn't hear from him for days, no messages, no confirmation for the next session, nothing. At first I told myself it was fine. Maybe he needed time, maybe it really was something personal, but the silence grew louder. The apartment felt emptier. I tried to distract myself. I went out, met with friends, cleaned the kitchen twice, but everything still smelled like him. And then, as if the universe had decided to mess with me, I saw him. I wasn't expecting it. I was at the grocery store, just picking up something quick before heading home. And there he was, in the produce section, standing by the bananas of all places, wearing jeans, a loose white t-shirt, and headphones around his neck. Normal, effortlessly gorgeous, and completely unaware of me. Until I froze. He looked up. Our eyes locked. There was a pause, like the world held its breath. He pulled out one earbud and gave me a nod. Not a wave, just a nod. Casual, controlled, like we were strangers who vaguely recognized each other. I couldn't take it. I walked over. "You've been avoiding me," I said, skipping all the niceties. Noah blinked. "I haven't." "You canceled our next appointment without a word." "I didn't cancel," he said. "I just didn't confirm it." I crossed my arms. "That's the same thing." He sighed, looking around. People passed by us, carts squeaking, music playing softly above. It felt absurd to be having this conversation between two displays of apples. "Can we not do this here?" he asked. "Then where?" He hesitated, then said, "Follow me." We ended up in the parking lot, standing by his car. It was quiet out there, the fading sun casting a warm orange glow over the pavement. "I didn't mean to ghost you," he said. "I just needed space." "From me?" I asked, softer this time. "From everything," he answered. "But yeah, you too." That stung more than I expected. "I don't get it. 1 minute you're touching my leg, talking to me like I'm more than a client. The next you vanish." He looked away. "That was a mistake." "Which part?" "The touch, the staying too long, the way I started looking forward to seeing you." His voice cracked slightly at the end. I stared at him. "Then why not lean into it?" "Because I've done this before," he said. "Not exactly like this, but I've gotten close to people who wanted something more. And it never ends well." "Well, congratulations," I snapped. "You got me hooked and scared yourself." He stepped closer, his voice low and shaky. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "But you did." We stood there, a foot apart, saying nothing. Then, unexpectedly, he said, "The night I left, the call I got, it was my ex. He needed help. We lived together for years. He knows how to pull me back in, even when I don't want to go. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. So, you still love him? I asked, unsure if I wanted the truth. He shook his head. No, but I still feel responsible for him. And sometimes I let that guilt blur the lines. I looked away. So what am I then? Just another blurred line? No, he said, stepping closer. You're the one thing that actually feels clear. That admission stopped the anger cold. He was looking at me like he wanted to say more, like something was sitting on his chest, begging to be released. But instead of words, he leaned forward, and for a second, I thought he was going to kiss me. My body leaned in, ready, too ready, but he stopped. Inches from my face, he whispered, "Not here." Then he turned, got in his car, and drove away, leaving me breathless in the fading daylight, lips tingling from a kiss that didn't happen. And suddenly, nothing in my life felt simple anymore. He came back. 2 days later, no warning. Just a knock on the door. I opened it, heart in my throat. He stood there, in jeans and a hoodie, eyes uncertain but full of something raw. "I'm not here to clean," he said. I didn't say anything, just stepped aside. He walked in, stopped in the living room, the same place where I'd watched him scrub floors, where I'd tried to hide how much I wanted him. But this time, he turned around and faced me. "I shouldn't be here," he said, "but I haven't stopped thinking about you." Then he stepped forward, slowly, like he was giving me the chance to stop him. I didn't. His hands found my face. His mouth touched mine, soft at first, then deeper. Everything I'd held back spilled into that kiss. When we pulled apart, he whispered, "I can't promise you forever." "I don't need forever," I replied. "Just something real." He nodded. "Then let's start there." He stayed the night. No drama, no rush. We talked, we touched. We fell asleep tangled on the couch, like we'd done it 100 times. In the morning, I woke up to him making coffee in my kitchen, wearing one of my shirts. Something about that image hit me hard. He wasn't just the guy in underwear anymore. He was someone I cared about, someone who made this place feel alive again. He sat beside me, handed me a mug, and said, "This is new for me." "Me too," I admitted, "but it feels right." He looked down. "I'm scared." "I am too." We sat in silence for a while. Then I said, "Maybe we can just be scared. Together." He smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." And somehow in that quiet moment, I realized I wasn't broken anymore. I'd cleaned the mess, and in doing so, I'd found him. Maybe even myself. If this story made you feel something, take a moment to reflect. Are you open to love, even when it shows up in ways you never expected? Are you brave enough to let go of fear and let someone in?